nemesis up to these days?
Oh no, it started.
Once they realize that their lives are nothing but fiction,
Elmore will collapse into the void.
What happened to Elmore after the void began to swallow it whole at the end of the Inquisition? Why do Gumball and Darwin have no recollection of their time off the air? Where's Rob? Where's the void? And what can they do to stop it? You've waited 6 years for these answers, and I'm happy to say that Gumball finally delivered. With the Season 2 finale of the Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball, The Rewrite. I have been dreaming of the day where I could finally dig into Gumball's greatest mystery with some concrete answers. And we got them in an episode that has some surprisingly nuanced meta-commentary on things like the S&P, while also setting up a new role for Rob and the long-awaited, yet to be greenlit Gumball movie. We got lots to cover, and I'm so pumped to talk about all of it, so let's get right into the episode. The title card for this episode features a new rendition of what we can now safely assume is the void motif heard at the end of the Inquisition when Rob falls into the void, recreating Banana Barb's painting from the future as he was thrust into a timeline that he desperately tried to avoid. The link between our reality and Gumball as a show and the importance of that connection feels like it's emphasized more than ever in this episode, especially as it is a rewrite of the story itself. Originally, this cliffhanger was meant to lead directly into the Amazing World of Gumball movie, but plans changed, and this revival ended up coming first, while the movie may or may not get rescued by Hulu and resume production. Because of this, they needed to create a proper resolution to the Inquisition while once again laying the groundwork for a movie, as without that acknowledgement, you're left with a giant plot hole, which the show itself takes literally. Gumball starts to piece together that, well, he's in a cartoon, floating timeline and all, catching all sorts of plot holes in the status quo, and making the kind of observations that you've probably made before. If not with Gumball, then another cartoon. He realizes that the interior of his house doesn't match up with the outside, given the placement of his bedroom. He points out how he and Darwin haven't aged in 7 years, which is partially a nod towards how these 2 revival seasons are really just the 7th season of the show. It's practically treated as such internationally, though Darwin stated they've been asleep for 7 years in the burger, which was a jab at how long it took for this series to come out, so you could rationalize this as another nod to their hiatus. Or if you want to pump up the existential horror, you could combine the numbers and say they haven't aged in 14 years. Of course, the Watterson kids' lack of aging was also mentioned before in episodes such as The Kids, which we actually see a clip of here when Gumball references their voices changing on numerous occasions, calling back to all of the recasts throughout the show's history, though 2 of them have had some sort of in-universe explanation. Not that we needed a reason for Gumball Chronicles, since it was a clip show, and their new voices could just be chalked up to the big sleep between series. Gumball goes as far as to call out the various art style changes, the tweaks made to the art direction in his model sheet, such as his design changing his oval-shaped eyes with giant pupils to rounder eyes with smaller pupils and a wider mouth that's farther up on his face. I'm surprised it took them this long to joke about it, but honestly, it was extremely satisfying to see them finally acknowledge this. All of these plot holes leads to Gumball finally recounting the events of the Inquisition after 40 episodes, prompting him and Darwin to question what exactly happened to Rob after he infiltrated the school as Superintendent Evil and tried to retcon everyone into humans as if they were straight out of Fiona and Cake, only to reveal he was trying to save everyone from a fate worse than Tumblr redesigns. But they weren't trying to listen to all that, so Tina bopped him. As it turns out, Rob has been working for the Awesome Store, which played a role earlier this season in The Cheapness, where Gumball and Darwin hit up the shady man for affordable holiday gifts in the age of capitalism, only to encounter some shenanigans. It's a really fun episode that actually starts to develop the shady man. Like after these 2 episodes, I love this guy. He rules. He may be shady, but he has a kind heart. A sentiment that's supported by the revelation that he saved Rob at the end of the Inquisition, pulling him out of the void and hightailing it out of there, leaving a literal plot hole in the school. Which, yeah, this is a retcon. I seriously doubt this gap in reality leading to an abyss of the universe's mistakes was intended to be something that they could just put on the back burner and ignore until the plot calls for it. This was supposed to be their apocalypse. But again, plans changed, and the shelving of the movie caused this to become a plot hole. Leaning into it was for the best. One thing I noticed about Rob's animation in this episode is that his glitches happen a bit more frequently compared to his other appearances, which I just chalk up to the jump in production value in this season, as they had more time to work on it. And I mean, the animation quality in this episode is crazy in general. But if you want to read into it, his glitches might be a result of his re-exposure to the void. As Rob sprints through the van, he passes by various miscellaneous artifacts and Easter eggs, including what appears to be Miss Simeon, or another baboon potentially related to her, trapped in a cage. It feels like they could explore this later, but what caught my eye and interests me the most is this doll of Rachel, a retired character who disappeared after season 1 with a small cameo in season 2. With this being a lore episode, I can't help but wonder if this has any implications on her fate. Did she get sent to the void? Was she actually never a real student at Elmore and is actually this doll who was bought and then returned to the Awesome Store for whatever reason, only coming to life when needed and lying dormant until she has a new home? Or am I not supposed to question it? Look, I know it's the last one, but we have fun here. Shady Man and Rob suspect that once Gumball and Darwin discover that they're works of fiction, Elmore will collapse into the void, which means there are 3 ways for their reality to fall apart at a moment's notice. 1. Becoming too self-aware of their status as animated characters. 2. Cancellation, which was obvious, but we'll talk about it more in a bit. And 3, Richard getting a job. I imagine the whole self-aware thing has something to do with breaking the 4th wall beyond repair, especially because Gumball and Darwin are the protagonists. This world literally revolves around them. Rob and Shady Man are supporting characters that appear once in a blue moon, so their reality doesn't hinge on what they're cognizant of. Gumball characters may have acknowledged the audience before, but that doesn't mean they process the nature of their existence. They may just think some live-action weirdos get a kick out of watching their lives in 11-minute increments. At most, they may think it's a Truman Show situation, but I doubt they thought too much about it. I love that Gumball and Darwin are referred to as Rob's friends. Despite Gumball desperately trying to reclaim him as a nemesis, which Rob briefly gave into, their beef really did end back in the rerun. Rob knows that while Gumball can be a dick, he's a good person at his core. Also, he's like 12. He can afford to be a menace. Rob using his more serialized role in the story to protect Gumball instead of trying to exact revenge is just so refreshing to see. The universe dictates that he's meant to be a villain, nothing more. But he continues to push back against the status quo that was penned by fate and does what he can to ensure that Gumball can continue to have his wonderfully weird adventures in this amazing world we've all come to adore.
What we do here is go back.
Need something to throw on while you draw, study, or sleep? Roundtable Rewind's got you covered. So why not take a stroll down memory lane and subscribe?
No one can tell me what to do.
See you there. As Rob worries about the plot hole he left behind catching up to him, he's tormented with a vision of the Watersons fleeing from the void, just as Banana Barb foretold in the Oracle. But it's pretty clear at this point that we'll only see this truly unfold in the movie. Shady Man attempts to throw Gumball and Darwin off their trail with a reality-bending laptop featuring the script for this episode, meaning anything that's written in the script will manifest in their reality. So he tries to rewrite the episode and prevent Gumball and Darwin from discovering the plot hole. But the lads are quick to catch on to what's happening and assume that if meta-nonsense is afoot, Rob must be at the scene of the crime, which is heartbreaking because while Shady Man is half-assing the rewrites, Rob is actually concerned about Gumball and Darwin's well-being, alongside a well-structured narrative, quickly taking over as head writer while Gumball and Darwin hightail it to the plot hole. Ultimately, Rob believes that in order to fix the plot hole and keep Elmore together, he has to stop resisting fate and play the role of a villain one last time, sacrificing himself yet again to protect Gumball and Darwin. Rob has been such a tragic character for a whole decade, man. Sent to the void for being a forgettable side character, getting permanently disfigured when trying to escape, resorting to drastic measures to save everyone from the void, with convoluted plans that he knows will just further isolate himself from his peers. He can't catch a break. Burdened with knowledge and the expectation that he's always up to no good, he's truly been put in a lose-lose situation. Still, he decides to roll the punches and go out on a high note, asserting himself back into the story as a reality-warping, animation-bending god who's returned to finally settle the score of Gumball. After all, it's what's supposed to happen in these cartoons, right? We get some delicious animation with visual spectacle that rivals that of a Hollywood blockbuster as the two duke it out. But before either of them can declare victory, Rob and the Shady Man script is intercepted by none other than modern day standards and practices, the department at a network that more or less gives notes on what can and can't be shown on TV. And they've gotten a lot stricter with Western animation over the last 10 years. Most creatives talk about standards and practices as a force that brings down the hammer and robs a story of its grit, smoothing out all all the edges with good old censorship. And that's exactly what they do here, giving way too many notes that strip Rob's big finale of all of its hype moments and aura. There's no sauce at all. No weapons allowed. The Cosmic Crown didn't clear legal, as it was probably too reminiscent of someone else's intellectual property, and legal doesn't even want to risk a lawsuit. It's so bad that they can't even hit each other. At first, this seems like a random development made for easy laughs. But then, this episode surprised me with what it has to say about S&P's role in storytelling. They come in clutch for Rob, as they note that his demise is too sad. They don't want a downer ending. And thus, Shady Man is forced into another rewrite. The life of a screenwriter. Gumball's a show that loves to cut loose, so the last thing I expected was for them to sort of stick up for the S&P department and express that, in some ways, they're not a hindrance. They can give some ridiculous notes. Just ask Alex Hirsch. But these limitations push storytellers to get creative, come up with new solutions, and deliver an even better story than what they've had before. Case in point, this story was originally meant to end with Rob perishing in the void, coming full circle in the most tragic way possible. But my new GOAT, the Shady Man, added a post-credit scene where he comes to the rescue one last time before hanging up the metaphorical jersey and retiring, passing off ownership of the Awesome Store to Rob. We also finally get a good look at the Shady Man, no longer obscured with a smoky aura, and he's just a lanky silhouette with fur, though it's implied this augmented appearance might be his work uniform, as he hands Rob a black robe that coats him in a similar blackout aesthetic. It's confirmed without a shadow of a doubt that the Awesome Store can enter in and out of the void at the driver's own discretion, and Shady Man has his own method of leaving this place, with an interdimensional door handle that seemingly allows him to traverse any reality. Shady Man also confirms what we all suspected with the void. It's an on-the-nose metaphor for cancellation. When it's time to wrap things up and the final episode of the show airs, it's void time. He straight up tells Rob that the boy will have to protect Elmore when Gumball eventually gets pulled from the air. This insinuates that when we finally get to the Gumball movie, it'll be something meant to end the franchise as a whole. Granted, they can't technically get pulled from air when the show's on streaming now, and the movie was originally intended to set this new series up, so maybe it'll eventually see the light of day without ending the wonderfully weird world of Gumball as a TV show. Rob asks what to do when the void comes back for them, and Shady Man simply shows him the upload button, basically saying, hey, shows might get kicked off cable, but the internet is forever. The internet has a really important relationship with not just Gumball, but media consumption as a whole. It has become a way to preserve and discuss TV and film since its inception. Just because a show is pulled off the air, it doesn't mean it's gone for good or erased from our memory. We can revisit them whenever we want, as long as you sell the 7 Cs. You telling me you never went on a nostalgic theme song binge at 1 a.m.? Through the internet, we can share cherished memories of our favorite stories and characters, along with novelties like behind-the-scenes trivia, theories, analysis, and who could forget beautiful pieces of fan art, or the weird pieces of fan art. So much weirdness. We as a society don't touch grass enough. Admittedly, the metaphor doesn't hit as hard when we're knee-deep in the streaming era, and entertainment has been relied on the internet for quite some time, plus shows are dying faster than ever. And this season's not even airing on cable in the United States. But you know what? Screw it. It's a beautiful sentiment either way. Thank you, Gumball. Shady Man sends Rob on his way, leaving his character in an interesting place, as the next time we see the Awesome Store, Rob will be the one facilitating sales, and might be hesitant to pass off super powerful or cursed objects to the wrong clients. He might try to use the Awesome Store to work around future plot holes, and try to stop Elmore from collapsing. Either way, this was a nice way to finally take him out of the role of antagonist or anti-hero, and finally end his boy-related suffering. At least for now. Ben Bokule stated he's interested in exploring the deal with Rob's family in the movie, and wants to eventually unpack the Awesome Store's origins, so we definitely haven't seen the last of him. And with that, the first 2 seasons of the wonderfully weird world of Gumball have come to a close. Despite my fears, the revival has been renewed for seasons 3 and 4, which are currently in the pipeline. And who knows, we might just get a movie announcement in the distant future. It seems to perform exceedingly well on Hulu and Disney+, so they'd be fools not to go all in and give fans what they've been begging for. There's actually some fun nods to the movie sprinkled throughout this season. Banana Barb is holding new prophecy paintings of the void right outside a movie theater, and when is the Gumball movie coming out is in Gumball search history, so they're definitely having fun with teasing us. Comment down below your thoughts on the season finale, and give me a follow over on Twitter and Instagram at AllSharkVox and Roundtable Vids to keep the conversation going and stay in the loop. If you enjoyed this video, throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more content on your favorite animated series. Make sure notifications are on. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace!